going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube. And always rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. What is going on today? Because we are going to be breaking down the Chicago Bears versus the Arizona Cardinals. A battle of basically mediocrity from a team's perspective. But this is a big game for the Bears because the Bears, I'm not going to call it another must win, but this is a game that they have to come out looking good. The Bears need to be looking like an actual team. How are they going to respond after not looking so great against the Commanders? And right now, what is going on in that locker room type of deal? Joe, what is good, my friend? Hope you're doing well. And yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to do what we always do. We're going to break down the injuries, break down the opponent, the offense, the defense, the special teams, and then last but not least, talk about the game predictions. So, also Taka Man, my friend, what is good? Hope you're doing well. So let's get started. The cat is here, as those that can see right in the background. She's back because now we have her chair back in the background. So she'll be here for some of the shows every now and again. But she's ready. She's ready to see what's going on. And yeah, Taka Man saying it'd be dumb to bench Stevenson. We'll be talking about that for sure. So let's get into the injuries, because I think this also tells a big story about what's going to happen with the Bears and the Cardinals. So to start things off, I don't know about anybody else, but when I heard that Karan Amagaji did not play on Wednesday, I just took a deep sigh. And maybe this is the first time you're hearing about this too, and you equally took a deep sigh, because it's like, seriously, he just played a game, he just was out there, and unfortunately did not participate. Now also, Braxton Jones did not participate on Wednesday and did not participate on Thursday. He's going to be most likely week to week, so most likely not going to be out there. And then with the Amagaji, I feel the exact same way, probably not going to be playing out there. So what does that mean? Well, it means the only player that's been a tackle that is a full participant, not named Darnell Wright, is most likely going to get that start at left tackle, which is Larry Borom. Now, Larry Borom, I know a lot of us, when we hear that name, it strikes fears into the hearts of many, many Bears fans. But also, another thing, just to add a little bit of fear, he's coming off of an injury with the ankle injury. And if he then gets activated, which in my mind, I really do think that he should be activated, especially when you see your other left tackles going down. I think ultimately Larry Borom's going to be starting. I'd be shocked if he's not. But yeah, he's coming off of an injury. He has not been practicing a lot. And yeah, you're just kind of throwing him into the fire. And we'll break down who he's going to be going against from the Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals, they don't have J.J. Watt or the Chandler Joneses that they used to have. But still, these are NFL players, and he's coming off of an injury. So it's going to be a challenge no matter what. But some other pieces, too, that I want to talk about on the injury front are our secondary. Jaquan Brisker still not participating from his concussion. And for me, I just hope he gets better, because when you have a concussion and he's been out for however many weeks, that's concerning. That's a head injury. That's something that you just hope that long term for his career, he's able to be healthy. And I know we've said, unfortunately, he's prone to these concussions with the way that he plays, the way that he tackles. We just kind of hope that he's somehow able to just make sure that he can live his life first, right? I just want to make sure he can live his life. So I hope he does have a good recovery, because it's a little concerning how long he's out with just that concussion. But also Kyler Gordon, the hamstring injury, still not participating. So we're going to see Josh Blackwell most likely come on Sunday. But then also Tevin Jenkins did not participate today, but was limited on Wednesday. Something definitely to monitor, because everyone's favorite, Bill Murray, no longer, he's now on IR. So with Bill Murray out, now you're looking at like a Ryan Bates, who's been limited this week, still on IR, but just a little limited, because if he's not able to go, Now we're talking about Nate Davis because unless they want to go and bring out Doug Kramer again. So you really got to hope that Tevin is able to play with that knee injury. Otherwise, yeah, would they actually put Nate Davis out there? I personally don't think they would, but it's a sticky situation for sure. But yeah, I agree with Taco Man. The line right now, it's a little wrecked. It's a little wrecked, and that's where with Ryan Bates potentially coming back, you have that depth in the interior, but I don't think he's going to be back this week. It'll probably be next week because my theory is I still feel like they're going to be trying to trade Nate Davis, which a lot of reports still continue to push that. I still feel like they're going to try and trade Nate Davis up until the deadline because maybe somebody goes down on another team and ultimately they need a guard and they end up trading for Nate Davis. I can see the Bears probably trying to do something like that to then say, okay, you're gone, Bates is in. But with the injury to Bill Murray, it does change a little bit with that. But yeah, ultimately, Borum will probably be back. And yeah, it's not great. Joe's saying Gordon Brisker is a big blow to the defense. Yeah. And not to mention even like with the Tyreek Stevenson pieces too, with reports saying out there. So I'll talk about that right now. Reports are that Tyreek Stevenson is not going to be starting. It doesn't mean he's not going to be playing. Doesn't mean he's going to be a healthy scratch. It just all signs point to they're probably going to put Terrell Smith out there, maybe for a series, maybe for a quarter. We don't know. But I would be shocked if he's out there play number one on defense. Now, how big of a blow is that? Not so much, to be honest, just because we've seen Terrell Smith come in and play well, and we know that Tyreek Stevenson has been up and down. And for anyone that was there when we were grinding the All-22, Tyreek Stevenson looked really bad last game. Like, besides the whole Hail Mary thing, he was consistently picked on. And you could see that their theme was, whoever he's going against, we're going to pick on him. And that's exactly what they did last game. So if he's benched or anything like that, I kind of like the idea of at least seeing what Terrell Smith has to offer. Do I like the whole fundamental piece of how they're handling this? No, because I haven't actually really talked too much about this on the show. I don't really love the way that they're handling it because you can tell that the players don't agree with what the coaches did. And you also, from the media perspective, we don't agree with what the coaches did. And people don't agree with what the coaches did. But the coaches, the Bears coaches, are still backing up what they did. And I think to me, that just shows arrogance. That's not confidence. That's not no fear of backing down. That's just ignorance. Ignorance, arrogance. Every one of those words combined into one. And it just doesn't feel good when you're seeing that. And so the fact that if they end up benching a Tyreek Stevenson, but they're not taking accountability for their bad actions, that's where you kind of lose me a little bit, because it seems like you're more so pointing the blame at Tyreek Stevenson, where rather than trying to discipline him for something bad that he did. That's just kind of how it comes off in this scenario. Was Tyreek Stevenson in the wrong with what he did? Yes. And like that's the big thing. It's the scenario, it's understanding the pieces and just kind of where things are overall at. And that's why it rubs me a little bit the wrong way if they do something bad to Tyreek Stevenson. It's more so, you've seen him play like this before. You should have been trying to do something up until then. So yeah, that's just where you kind of lose me a little bit. But yeah, I agree with Taco Man. We still got out coached, because that's ultimately what I felt was going on, was just the coaching and other pieces like that. It goes down to the whole execution. And Raymond saying, team is soft, just like the coach, and that is why we'll never win anything. And then Raymond saying, listen to Steelers coach about how hard his practices are. Yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah. Like, I still wish, like, I love it when the Steelers aren't doing great and they're like, we got to fire Tomlin. It's like, okay. Yeah. And I remember, like, there was still people out there, like, when the rumors were that Pittsburgh was going to get rid of him, there were still some Bears shows out there that were like, hey, like Bears shows, Bears fans that are like, do we really want Tomlin? It's like, yeah, we want Tomlin. Have you seen him? The guy's never had a losing record. With the crap he trots out there, he's just a good coach. Can you imagine him with a good team? it'd be unbelievable. He'd be really, really freaking good. So let's talk, and actually we got to talk about the opponent's injuries next. So the opponent's injuries, and for those that are watching, no, I did not type this up in Microsoft Notepad. This was just simply copied and pasted. I screenshotted. This is Arizona's injury report, just text. So really what we're seeing from a Wednesday perspective, offensive tackle Kelvin Beachum did not participate today, was a limited participant on Thursday, did not participate on Wednesday. So my guess probably going to go, just something to monitor next practice. But then also Darius Robinson did not participate for 2 straight games, 2 straight days. He is a defensive lineman. He's the person that a lot of Bears fans really liked, myself included, just as like that tweener. But if we're looking at other ones too, Sean Murphy Bunting should be out there. Full participant today and yesterday, the cornerback with a neck injury. Other than that, Jonah Williams limited, so might be coming back as well. Roy Lopez and Naquan Jones all potentially going to be back. So then, next, what we're going to talk about is just the opponent preview. Now, this opponent, the Cardinals. I've said this before. The Cardinals, this is no slouch of a team. This Cardinals team has actually, it's kind of the tale of the two different teams, because you have 4-3, 3-4, but they're coming in going against the hardest schedule, and the Bears are coming in going against the easiest strength of schedule. So you're talking about two teams that have gone against different opponents and are, 3-4 and 4-3. And that's why you also see the Cardinals being the favorite in this game by around 1 point or 2 points. But a lot of people, a lot of rankings have them about even. Bears are 17th ranked in DVOA, and the Cardinals are 19th in DVOA. So for all intents and purposes, this should be a close game because there are two teams that I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out, and they're trying to figure themselves out as well. And when you look at their team, they're the 26th defense, according to DVOA, but the 20th ranked offense, which I thought was a little interesting. So they don't necessarily love their team with the DVOA numbers, and actually it might have been a little bit higher. I think I might have jotted down the wrong one, but I just remember they're okay. Like this is a solid team. Like I've mentioned before in the past, this strikes me as like the 500 team. Like this is the team that you expect to kind of go 500 because they have Kyler Murray. This defense is not good, but they can take advantage of opportunities with Budda Baker in the back in the secondary, but also this offense, good running game, good receivers, and anytime that you have a good offense, then something can typically happen. But let's talk. Yeah, Taco Man saying mid of the pack, scrappy team. Exactly. And Raymond saying too, Luce will say they had a great practice when all they do is walk through and they can't figure out why they start off to a slow start when they never go full speed in practice. Now, something I want to say about their practices too. John Yurkovich, he's on ESPN 1000. I always like listening to them. I don't know if anyone else is a big fan of Carmen Yurko. That's actually one of my favorite shows to listen to. But I love listening to Yurko talk about how they practice. And he literally, he's a former Green Bay Packer, former football player. And when he went to their practice, the Bears practice, he left. Like he did not want to go back because he was like, man, I don't want to be out there. He's like, they don't practice full speed. They don't practice hard. And that was something that, just kind of spoke volumes. And someone who speaks volumes, Mr. Shy Drax, how's it going? Hope you're doing well, my friend. Hope you've been well. I love the little Bears emojis too. I love that stuff. So let's go into, though, the offensive preview for the Chicago Bears. Like I said, this defense is that we're going against not the greatest. When you look at the defense, 26 DVOA, but also when you're looking at their passing defense, they've given up the 26 most passing yards per game at 235.6 yards per game. They're also 28th in points contributed by their passing defense, so not good. Then you flip over to their run defense, 26 rushing yards per game at 140.9 and 4.6 yards per carry, so not great. And then also 30th in expected points contributed by that rushing defense. So not good rushing defense, not good passing defense, and also their pressure rate, fourth worst in the NFL at 15.5%, and they blitz the second least amount at 17.3. Like we said, this defense, not the greatest, but they still have like a Budda Baker that's back there in the secondary. Very good safety, one of the top safeties out there. And also, if Sean Murphy-Bunting is back, then you have another secondary player to be, to go out there and play against the Bears. Because right now, they're rolling out Starling Thomas V from UAB and also Max Melton, their second-round pick out of Rutgers, who's really struggled. He's been the PFF's 108th ranked corner out of 110. But like we said, this team just does struggle. Even though that they got Kaiser White struggling. In the middle, also, they have Mac Wilson, their linebackers. But really, this defense, not too great. Like we talked about with these defensive ends, are they going to be going against someone good? Now, Zaven Collins is a solid defensive end. He's had some up and down seasons. And actually, right now, PFF has him as the fourth highest graded run defense grade as a defensive end, but the 89th ranked pass rush grade, according to PFF. He's just been solid. Like, he's nothing extraordinary. If we signed him, we wouldn't be necessarily jumping for joy. He's just been okay. And I think that's the thing that's at least good and at least promising, because you look at, well, who would be kind of lining up on the opposite side of that? You're talking about an Xavier Thomas out of Clemson. And then in the interior, LJ Collier. Yes, that LJ Collier, the former first-round pick, right? You probably haven't heard of him in quite some time. And Dante Stills as their defensive tackle. So you're not talking about some of these true game wreckers that are out there or household names. The only other household name is they have Kairos Tonga. Yes, that Kairos Tonga as their nose tackle, who you'll see out there a little bit. But like we said, not a great defense. So if you're going to have Larry Borom out there, this would be a game that you kind of feel okay with, because if he's trotting out there, Zaven Collins, pretty good, but you're not going against a Max Crosby. You're not going against even like Jadeveon Clowney is better, right? So you're not going against one of those really good defensive ends this week. You're just going against a solid one. So you can always have a tight end chip or do something like that. But this is at least one that you can at least hopefully Braxton can rest up. Karan, just don't get injured, please, again. But Borom, I think, should at least be able to do something. But and I agree with Shy Drax out there. Sounds like a potentially good game then for Caleb Williams. So let's flip over to the offense, because, yeah, they could definitely do something against this defense. And we've shown this when we watch the tape. And for those that didn't see it, Rome Odunze is someone, even though he's ranked the 84th best wide receiver according to Pro Football Focus, when we watch the tape, now PFF, they grade every single route that he runs every single time. But when we watch the tape and when he's asked to run a route, and I think this is key, when he's asked to be the first read and beat his guy, what does he do? He wins. And he wins with good separation. And I think that's something that I really want to see start to work here. You're not going to be going against great cornerbacks. Take advantage of the corners. They were not able to do that last week versus Washington. Hopefully they can do that again in Arizona. And also, too, Arizona is kind of a home away from home for the Chicago Bears. Arizona Cardinals, no offense if you're a diehard fan listening to this, but if you are, thank you. Please hit the like button. But in Arizona, we know that there's a lot of snowbirds from Chicago that have a house, have a home down in Arizona, and this is a game they like to travel down. It's getting a little cold. I mean, right now it's actually kind of warm, but it's getting a little cold. They can go down to their home, go down and see the Bears play. This is a spot where a lot of Bears fans travel, and a lot of Bears fans will be there. So it won't feel like a true away game, even though Matt Eberflus, terrible away, going against people on the road. But I really do like this matchup, because you're looking at this offense that we just have to start hot. We have to get things going. And I think that the whole story of this game, yet again, not going to call this a must-win game. What I'm going to call this is that don't look like You need to rebound. Doesn't mean necessarily, obviously, a win is great. A win would be amazing. But it's more important about, are people bought in? Or did you lose them? Because we kept losing over and over and over again. And we keep losing games in the fourth quarter. And we keep having these weird oddities. So people are getting sick of it. And the way that we lost too really stung and really sat with the locker room. We have not seen this type of attitude throughout the Matt Eberflus era. And now we're starting to see this. And if he's lost everyone, we're going to see that come Sunday. So that's what I'm looking for, is that, did we actually lose the locker room, or are we back together? And also keep in mind too, the trade deadline is coming up, and Tevin Jenkins still doesn't have he's getting close then to that potential contract extension. And right now, PFF has him graded as the 10th highest graded offensive guard in the entire NFL. Not bad. But like we know, the injuries are something that has just plagued his career. So do I think that he's played like the 10th best? Maybe not. When I watched the tape, it wasn't like what we've seen a couple years ago when he was just absolutely unbelievable. But yeah, it's not bad. But yeah, to say 10th best, he's got a 76.2 grade, which yet again isn't great. It's just offensive line play is just kind of down. So yeah, but overall, I think that we're going to have to lean on Swift with a lot of this, and we have to start early. That is the game plan. So let's talk about the matchups to watch for and the X factor. So the matchup that I'm going to be watching out for, it's an easy one, but I'm going to be looking at Larry Borom. Larry Borom versus Zaven Collins. This is their best defensive lineman going against arguably our worst offensive lineman that will most likely take the field on Sunday. That is the biggest matchup because that's the blind side. And Larry Borom right now, here's the thing. If Larry goes out and shows well, a team might be calling up the Bears and trying to trade for him. He has 1 year left. And for some reason, not for some reason, the new Bears regime really doesn't seem to have liked him ever since that they kind of took the reins, took the control. It always seemed like Larry Borom was never the type of player that they wanted. And they were always trying to get him out. And we never saw him kind of get shipped out. So he's always been around, always been that backup swing tackle. So hopefully he has a good game. Like, right? If anyone's wishing him bad luck, like, come on. He should have a great game. That's going to be the big matchup to watch out for. But let's go over to the X factor, where if we're looking at the X factor on this offense, someone that can just kind of take this to the next level. I only call out the quarterback when it's absolutely necessary. And I'm going to say it right now. Caleb Williams is the X factor. I could have said Swift just because if Swift carries the team on his back like he did last week, then yeah. But ultimately, it's going to come down to Caleb Williams versus Caleb Williams. Don't be so energetic. Don't drink all that coffee. Whatever it is that is making you hyped up before the game, relax. Chill. Just be zen, Call up Justin Fields and get him with the box breathing, right? Do something like that. Relax. Because when Caleb is relaxed and he's in the zone, different player. But when he's this jittery mess that we've seen in the early portions of the season and what we saw last week, that's not a good quarterback because he's jittery. He's not making the right decisions. And I was listening to people talk about this too. One of the reasons why he might have felt jittery is they started jumping routes. When someone did something and he's looking, they would purposely jump it. And then now he's nervous. He's scared. And honestly, whether they purposely put that in there, that's genius. That's genius for the Commanders to be doing that. So relax. Yeah. Talking about saying smelling salt. Like, yeah, just chill. Like that's exactly what he needs to be doing. Just relax. And also just get back to fundamentals, right? We don't need to be doing anything too crazy right now. Let's just stick to the fundamentals. So that's the offense. That's ultimately what I have to say about this offense. Hopefully we can get something going on with our Bears. But let's flip over to this offense that will be coming into town. This Cardinals offense, like we said, this is the thing to actually look out for. And they're actually kind of lowly ranked in a lot of different rankings. Like I said, they're not even in the top half, but this offense can break out at any time. They're the 22nd in passing yards with 196.8, and also 7th in rushing yards at 141.8. 5.2 rushing yards per play. Pretty darn good, if you ask me. And if you look at the stats, Kyler Murray, 1,638 passing yards so far, 11 tutties, and 3 interceptions. Also, 11 sacks. He's been sacked 11 times. But when you look over at his running, 344 rushing yards, so 43 yards per game. And James Conner, good running back. PFF's 12th highest graded running back. Really, Conner's been solid. He's just a good back. He just doesn't get a lot of the accolades. He's just always a time in, time again running back. He reminds me kind of like how Matt Forte was, not to the same level of Matt Forte, but I just remember, like, I live in Wisconsin. No one would draft Matt Forte in fantasy football because it was just like, it's just Matt Forte. But Matt Forte always showed up, always did his job. And that's kind of what Conner reminds me of. He's kind of this quiet, like, nobody, like, drafting James Conner in your fantasy team is not the sexy pick. Like, Matt Forte was never the sexy pick. I mean, outside of Chicago, it wasn't. But that's just kind of like how he is. He just does his job, and he's like, people sleep on him as a running back, but he's been doing well. He's a good player. And 4.3 yards per carry for him. Trey Benson, their backup running back, 3.8 yards a carry. But the big story, Marvin Harrison Jr. And no, people, he's not a bust. He's a very good player. He's the BFF's 15th highest graded wide receiver. And yeah, he doesn't look like Malik Neighbors out there, but the dude is still really good. Reliable receiver, very good hands. He's a good player, ladies and gentlemen. So we need to watch out for him. Michael Wilson, another good player on the outside. Greg Dortch, just a playmaker that can do something big. So not a true wide receiver, I'd say, but just a playmaker. And speaking of playmakers, they have one of my favorite tight ends that I remember seeing and being like, why is he going in the second? They have McBride. And Trey McBride is ranked the third highest grade for all tight ends in the NFL, according to PFF, and he's played that way. He's been Kyler Murray's number one option, and he's been the guy that he can continuously go to for easy yards. That's why you see with 56 targets, 42 total receptions. The next closest in receptions is Michael Wilson at 27, and then Marvin Harrison at 26. Very good player. Very good stuff out there. That's ultimately, like, they have the weapons. And it reminds me a lot of the Bears team, where you don't necessarily have the most confidence in the offensive line, but it's the weapons on the outside. The Marvin Harrison Jr., the Trey McBride, the James Conner. And Michael Wilson is, I'm not going to put him up with our guys right now, but I'd put him up with like a Rome Odunze, where it's like this good receiver, right? Like they're not going to take over, they're not asked to do that, but yeah, they have some pretty darn good weapons out there. And this offensive line is okay. But also what we're seeing is Paris Johnson, the tackle out of Ohio State, really kind of putting it together. Like we said, takes 2 years for an offensive line to really put together. And that's ultimately what that his left tackle right now, 12th overall grade from PFF. Let's see what's going on in the comments. Seeing a lot of stuff out there. Let's see. Taco Man saying Marvin versus JJ is going to be good. Yes, it is. And then also, we're seeing some ghosts out there with some games out there. And then also we have John. John, what's good? Same problem is the Bears. We're used to blaming everything on Fields. He is gone. Now who will be the scapegoat? I will actually flip that. I actually think that a lot of us were trying to not blame Fields, but then a portion of us were. I know for me, when I would watch the film, here's the thing: Fields still never threw it to it. He never threw it to anybody that was open. A lot of times, he just wasn't there. But it was everybody. I think the problem is everyone's the problem. I think that's the problem. We have too many problems. I wish we had one problem. It's easier to blame one person, right? But unfortunately, it's like you see what Luke Getsy's doing. with the Raiders. And we're seeing what Justin Fields did with the Steelers. But I still stand on this, and I remember saying this over and over and over again. Darnell Mooney gets open, and that's exactly what he's doing in Atlanta. Because I know a lot of people were like, he's not good. I'm like, nah, man, he's good. He gets open. Like, he really does get open. And I wish we did the tape reviews then, because it was like he seriously was getting open all the time. And Fields was looking at him, but he was like, nah. Or like he'd wait like a second later and then he would throw it. So, yeah. But yeah, ultimately, I think, yeah, we're getting a little bit too cute with some of the things. Yeah. But ultimately, let's keep on going with some of this stuff, and let's talk about how we can defend them, because obviously it's going to be Jalen Johnson versus Marvin Harrison Jr. if they can. But yeah, we haven't seen a lot of the tracking of our top corner versus their top wide receiver as much. So Stevenson right now ranked the 98th corner according to PFF, and hey, if it's any indication from what we saw last week, yeah, he's a playmaker, he's a chirper out there. People were getting wide open on him. That's the truth of it. There was a couple plays that he was on the receiver, but yet again, an offensive lineman blocks correctly, 80% of the time, 90% of the time. So Stevenson, I don't mind it if they end up benching him for Terrell Smith just to see what you have. Because yet again, pressure creates diamonds. Putting that on someone can be really good for him. So yet again, do I like the idea of benching him because of all the stuff, but for what he did, yeah. But for what's going on and packaging that with the coaches not taking accountability for bad play calls and bad decisions on their own behalf, that's just where you start. That's where I just think that the optics altogether, all combined, ain't pretty. But all things considered, I am excited to see Terrell Smith. I really am. And I want to see what he can do out there. So let's see what this defense can do, because like I said, they should be able to attack them. Montez Sweat was starting to get healthy and then he got banged up, but hopefully he's able to kind of recover from his injury. When we were looking at this, he was limited today, did not participate on Wednesday. It is included as a shin injury. So hopefully can be back out there and still have some of that burst. But yet again, Jacob Martin looked phenomenal last week. So hopefully he can keep up that great performance too. And this defensive line coming out of nowhere with the new coaching. And actually, speaking of coaching, we get a new coach that really stresses and knows how to develop defensive line. And now everything's starting to come together with this D line. Like, well, look at that, right? And Taylor right now, 25th best graded defensive end according to PFF. And that's saying something, because PFF did not like Darrell Taylor. Even when he was having his sacks of games and stuff like that, the grades didn't like it because he was just kind of like running around people and doing stuff like that. But ultimately, the dude's playing well. And now I'm glad that the PFF grades are kind of back with that. And also Javon, 26th best or highest graded defensive tackle. So good stuff, but ultimately it's going to boil down to what I think is going to be the pass rush and containing Kyler Murray. Because if Kyler Murray is able to scramble, that's going to be causing a whole bunch of different issues. Defensive line, linebackers, you have to stay disciplined, because when you have a running quarterback like this, that is going to press everybody else. And also, the biggest thing about this game, doesn't Call of Duty come out? Can anybody fact check me on this? I might need to check this out too. When does Call of Duty come out? Because I'm pretty sure, yeah, October 29th. Or no, October 29th, that was in 2003. The new Call of Duty, come on. Does the new Call of Duty come out? October 25th, never mind. So yeah, we have the new Black Ops 6. Yeah, if anyone else can fact check me with this, if Black Ops 6 is out, Kyler's toast, man. He's going to be playing it all the time. So we'll see how post Black Ops, post Call of Duty, Kyler Murray will play. But that's going to be the ultimate X factor, is the Call of Duty. But let's talk about matchups, because if we're looking at matchups, I do agree. I'm going to actually switch it. I'm going to say Terrell Smith versus Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. typically is lining up on that right-hand side. Terrell Smith will also be on that right-hand side. And that's going to be the matchup for me to watch because that's where they're going to probably want to attack. And ultimately, it's going to be down to Terrell Smith if he, in fact, is going to be, depending on how long he's actually going to be playing out there. And for the X Factor, X Factor, I'm going to go Elijah Hicks. Just because Elijah Hicks, we saw him play one game that was unbelievable. And then the second game, we really started to see him struggle, kind of get back to what we were expecting with Elijah Hicks out there. And especially with like a Greg Dortch. And also, they like to take these big shots with their big wide receivers. Elijah Hicks needs to be back there and really make sure people are protected. But with that, let's flip over to the special teams review, shall we? So we got to go through the special teams. And ultimately with this, yet again, not much to talk about, not much to be covering with special teams because ultimately DeAndre Carter, yet again, what I'd like to see a little bit more punt returns, right? I want to see the punt returns so that we're not allowing them just to get some field goals. Would like to see nothing so that we could get some interceptions. That's what I would love to see. But ultimately, let's just kind of continue. Now we're in the dome. So hopefully, I want to just continue to see punts down in the 10. And I did see someone posted that he's like top 2 in punts within the 10. I don't want to see that. Do you know why? Because I want to see the percentage, not the number. Like, number just means that we've been punting a bunch, which we all know we have been. So that's my big piece. But let's flip over to who has the edge. Because if we're looking at our teams, so who exactly has the edge with our different units? If we go over to our defense, or let's flip over to our offense. So the Bears offense, Bears passing attack. I'm going to say this. We should have the edge. This is not a good pass defense. We have the weapons. Yes, we're probably going to have Larry Borum out there at left tackle. But you're going against, like we said, one of the worst pass rushes that you're going to face. This is the 4th worst pressure rate in the NFL. This is not a good pressure team. So because of this, unless your left guard's also out, ultimately you're going to have to make some adjustments, but I still think that this pass attack should be able to do it unless Caleb decides to go inside of his own head. But also the running attack, I'm going to give it to the Bears. Believe it or not, DeAndre Swift, do not let me down now. I'm believing in you to rush. I'm believing in you to do this because he has been great ever since ever since they had that meeting. He's been someone that has just been unbelievable. So I hope that he continues to play with that fire that we saw, week 4 on. That was when we really started to see him kick it up. And if he continues to play with that fire, that tenacity, that is going to give us to the Bears. And if we flip over to the offense, I'm going to give it to the Cardinals running attack versus our run defense. Just because of the quarterback and also the running game, I think ultimately they're going to do well. And the pass versus our pass defense, I think that's kind of even. But I'll give the slight edge to the Bears. We've been good in our pass defense. And I think ultimately you're going to see a rejuvenated Tyreek Stevenson and you're going to see a rejuvenated Terrell Smith. These guys are going to be duking it out. Now you have Terrell Smith has a job opening. He could take this job from Tyreek Stevenson if he really wants to. I think you're going to see some inspired cornerback play. And ultimately with that, Bears have the edge. I really do agree. And I was hearing someone else talk about this. Like, yeah, the Bears actually have the edge inside of this game. And I want to actually pull up even the PFF grades too, because PFF really likes the Bears compared to the Cardinals. Yeah, right now the Cardinals are the 27th graded team according to them, and the Bears 14th. So a pretty big disparity in between them because, yeah, Bears have been a good team. It's just this whole weirdness that the whole weird starts. So let's start talking about the predictions. And also I agree with Taco Man too. And Taco Man and Drax. Yeah, we definitely need to see Cole Kmet out there more than Gerald Everett. But let's hear your predictions and let's also hear what your bold prediction is too. We see Joe out there saying Bears 24, Cards 17. We're saying John saying Cardinals 17, Bears 14. And then we're also, I thought I saw a couple other ones out there. Taco Man saying 17-10 Bears. Shy Drax, I like your score. 37-10 Bears. And let me see any other scores that I see out there. This is going to be a big game. And whenever I do this is when I come up with it on the spot. And when Johnny PayPal and I would do these shows, yeah, we do the same thing where we might come in like a little down on the team, but then end up optimistic. This is a big game. And right now, the thing that gets me a little nervous, real talk, the nervousness that I feel is that they aren't all together as a team. And we, like I mentioned before, like I mentioned earlier, we haven't seen them kind of feel this dysfunctional, right? Us Bears fans, we've been dysfunctional, but we haven't seen this Bears team this dysfunctional. This is a big game. This is a big game for them to come together. This is a big game for them to play. I want them to win, but I feel like we might lose this. I'm going to say 20-13. I think I feel like we might end up losing this, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong with this, but it's the vibes of everything coming out of Chicago right now. So please, Bears, like you got to solve this. You got to solve this, because otherwise, I mean, we might do the same thing that we've done for the past other quarterbacks that we've had, and then fire the head coach at the end of the season. And I don't think that's out of the question if we aren't playing well. So yeah, I know, guys, but I think I feel like that might happen. So I hope my feelings are wrong, and I hope all of you could say that I'm wrong. Yeah, talk about calling me a fake Bears fan. Yeah, exactly. I've turned my back on everybody and everything. But yeah, yeah. I hope we win, because I hope that we're not talking on Sunday being like, dude, what just happened? Right? Because if we lose again, things are going to be tough. Things are going to be real rough, especially if we are trading away people, like trading away, even if it's Nate Davis or other players like that, it still will feel like the season's giving up, like we're giving up on this. But really, it's going to be crazy. Join us after the game. Usually we go live around 7:30 on Sunday, but make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube, and also rate the show 5 stars everywhere you get your podcast. Just download it, search for Unbearable Sports. And with that, let's go Bears. Prove me wrong. Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a